Hello, friends. This is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today's April 8th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Ruckus is not going to be able to join us today. He was out partying late, celebrating the ceasefire. Just kidding. Just kidding. He said he was under the weather today. He's going to come join us tomorrow, hopefully. Ruckus knew, like the rest of Weaponized News hounds, that the ceasefire announcement yesterday was complete and total and utter bullshit. And it is. That's why the title of today's show is Iran War Day 40. There's no ceasefire. There's no ceasefire. We're going to go over all those details with you today. Hopefully we can get Ruckus on tomorrow because this thing's ongoing, man. This is ongoing. There ain't no ceasefire. Aardvarks whacked, 256 Lebanese, injuring over 1,000. There ain't no ceasefire. Okay, we're going to cover all these details. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Trump has failed. Trump has failed at his objectives. We got all of this Orwellian propaganda claiming victory. I guess all sides have claimed victory here now. And who wins in a war? No one. I guess the war profiteers. But Joe Blow citizens do not win in these wars. The, quote, elite, the bankers win, right? All wars are bankers' wars. It's going to turn into all wars are aardvark wars pretty soon here. We're getting closer by the day to all wars are aardvark wars. All right, what else do we got? All this to cover. All the fallout. We got images out of Lebanon. It's, what do you even say? They're murdering, aardvarks are murdering civilians in Lebanon, saying they're Hezbollahs. That's what you say, I guess, because that's the reality of the situation we're facing. We have a little public health news. We have some economic news. We have Epstein news. We have NASA news and more geopolitical news for you today. Quite a bit to cover, actually. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. I wish there was a ceasefire. I wish they'd stop killing people. They're not, okay? They're simply not. And there's retaliations now back. Iran still going after, quote, allies in the Persian Gulf, right? U.S. aardvark allies. And so now they're attacking back, and this thing is ongoing. There's still a war going on here. There is no peace. There's not even a ceasefire. Maybe, I guess the United States is not straight out bombing Iran. That's where we're at. But the rest of it is all still going on. And hey, we may be bombing, but we're bombing everybody through proxy aardvark land. So what's the freaking difference? There is no difference at this point. I.e., Iran War Day 40. Very sad to report to you, honestly, here now. I thought our prayers for peace, we got to keep praying for peace. I thought maybe we saw some glimmer of hope yesterday. All that was dashed by the aardvarks, as we said it would be. As we said it would be, because you can't trust these lying, cheating, sneaky, bloodthirsty, genocidal aardvarks. You just simply can't trust them. All right, let's get to this day in history and get to all this news for you on this day. On this day in our history. Did I even get the right paper? Here it is. I got so many of these papers with notes. I think I got it here. Maybe. So that's what year we're starting on, right? I got it all screwed up today. Apologies. Let's see if I can sort out my notes quickly enough. I think I found it. All right. All right, if we go back to the year, on this day, maybe this is probably when things started going south here in North America. On this day of April 8th, 1730, we saw Congregation She-Arith Aardvark opens the first North American synagogue in New York City on Mill Street in Lower Manhattan. Things started going bad then, I would say. Just saying. Not a good sign there for North America. On this day, 1730, 1766, we saw the first fire escape is patented, a wicker basket on a pulley and chain. Well, I guess whatever it takes to get out of a burning building, that's a good start. On this day in 1783, we saw the annexation of Crimea by Catherine II of Russia. They're still fighting over Crimea today, right? I guess Russia says they own it now, but yeah, that's another one that will continue to be fought over, I guess, for all of history, apparently. On this day in 1796, Carl Gauss, German mathematician, proves the quadratic reciprocity law, the ability to determine the solvability of any quadratic equation in modular arithmetic. Yeah, that's fun stuff, right? 1801, on this day, we saw soldiers riot in Bucharest, kill 128 aardvarks. 1862 on this day, we saw John D. Lindy patents aerosol dispenser. That was a good one, right? Destroyed our ozone. Now we have climate change, and they got to terraform the planet to save us. Thanks a lot there for your patent on aerosol dispensers. 1904, on this day, British mystic, that's how the official history describes them, right? British mystic Aleister Crowley transcribes the first chapter of the Book of Law, and he's like self-described. Aleister Crowley self-described most evil man in the world, right? And they describe him as British mystic. Pretty funny. There, 1913 on this day, we saw the 17th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution is ratified by Congress, providing for election of senators by popular vote. Again, undermining the original intent of the alleged structure of our government, constitutional republic, representative democracy, the 17th Amendment taking power away from the states there. 1943, on this day, we saw FDR inflation measures. Then President Franklin Roosevelt, in an attempt to check inflation, freezes wages and prices, prohibits workers from changing jobs unless the war effort would be aided thereby, and bars rate increases to common carriers and public utilities. So I'm saying, we get it. If we actually do get in a declared war, forget about it. You've never seen the tyranny that they'll lay down upon us. 1946, on this day, League of Nations assembles for the last time. So the first attempt at a modern one world government on this day meets for the last time in 1946, the League of Nations. 1983, on this day, we saw the Statue of Liberty in front of a live audience of 20 tourists. David Copperfield makes the Statue of Liberty disappear. You know what else David Copperfield is famous for? Being all up in the Epstein files. He couldn't make the Epstein files disappear, could he? Or his name in there, even though I'm sure it's redacted many times as well. David Copperfield, the famous magician, on this day, 1983, made the Statue of Liberty disappear in front of 20 tourists, but still implicated in the Epstein files. 1994, on this day, the Pentagon and U.S. military bases banned smoking, but you can get shot in the face by an Iraqi for your health, of course. There you go. On this day, in 2019, we saw an announcement by the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. That's these bird watching guys, right? They say on this day in 2019, 600 million birds die each year in the U.S. after striking tall buildings, with Chicago being the worst city. Well, obviously, we need a miracle for tall buildings, right? Because tall buildings are taking out more than the bird flu here of these birds. So obviously, the solution, a miracle for tall buildings. Where are you at, public health, on this one? On this day in 2020, Saudi-backed, and this speaks to lockstep, Saudi-backed coalition fighting the Houthis in Yemen calls for a ceasefire after 5 years to stop the spread of the bats, i.e. lockstep, Operation Lockstep. Yeah, we've been at a war, but there's bats, so we got to call it off now, guys. Maybe that's a good thing that came out of this. And then finally, 2 years ago on this day, 2024, new Vatican document rejects concept of changing a person's biological sex despite Pope Francis's recent overtures to the trans community. And then we do have some on this day in our civil liberties history. We take a look over here at that, a couple of them. See, this is what I'm talking about. How far did we go back? Yeah, let's start on this day in our civil liberties history. On April 8th, 1952, then President Truman seizes steel mills in the midst of the Korean War. Then President Harry Truman on this day seized the steel mills to avert a strike he claimed would hinder the war effort. Truman justified his action on the grounds the president had extraordinary powers over national security issues. The seizure provoked a national controversy over presidential powers, and eventually a landmark Supreme Court case, the Supreme Court overturned the seizure and rebuked Truman's claims of presidential power in Youngstown Sheet and Tubeco versus Sawyer, decided on June 2nd, 1952. We've been having a problem with these presidents for a very long time, thinking they're the king of the world, they're the dictator, they're whatever they want to think they are, above the law, above the Constitution, all this. And you can see they do their dictatorial tyranny upon the population, and it takes a hell of a long time to wind through the court. This one only took a couple months, thankfully, but man, and you see it on your color TV today with Trump, don't you? So I'm saying, if they ever do declare war, forget about it. Let's see. Senate to investigate invasion of privacy by the post office. Yeah. On this day, 1965, Senator Edward V. Long, a Democrat out of Missouri, announced on this day that he would hold hearings on reports that the post office had a practice of turning over mail addresses to delinquent taxpayers to the IRS. And so that was good of them, helping the central bank collection agency. Thanks a lot, post office. And on this day in 1997, in our civil liberties history, Tennessee becomes the last state to ratify the 15th Amendment 127 years later. And then finally, on this day in our civil liberties history, in the year 2014, the NSA spied on Human Rights Watch, other activist groups. According to National Security Agency documents released by Edward Snowden on this day, the NSA spied on Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, and other international human rights organizations. There was no evidence of how Human Rights Watch or any of the other groups pose threats to U.S. national security. For the initial release by NSA documents by Edward Snowden, see June 5th, 2013. On April 14th, 2014, the 2014 Pulitzer Prize for Public Service was awarded to The Guardian, U.S., and the Washington Compost for their stories on national security regarding the NSA spying based on leaked documents by Edward Snowden. And here's our segue. Trump's even lost the war channel Fox News. Here they are explaining that none of Trump's stated objectives for the war have been achieved. And then we'll get to the government propaganda of lying, saying they have achieved them.
But I will say that the president's demands, we have not reached any of those objectives. I have full confidence that the president is going to find some way to make this happen. But he said that we want to dismantle all major nuclear facilities. That has not happened. The end of uranium enrichment on the soil, they're still enriching. The transfer of the enriched uranium stockpiles out of Iran, that hasn't happened. The acceptance of intrusive international inspections, they're still not willing to do that. And they have not suspended their ballistic missiles program. They're still firing them off to stop the production of the long-range missiles. That's just a few of them on the president's proposal. The question is the president using this 2 weeks to give our soldiers a break, a rest, to see if we can get this ultimately done? We'll see.
Question is that reporter and Fox News, do they have the mind of a child? Apparently they do. That's the level of propaganda that we're at. But hey, the War Department, they're not posting much, but they did post this. Epic fury quilled for now, objectives accomplished. That's just simply not true. We just saw the Fox News report. So you're telling me, I guess, believe the War Department over Fox News there, right? No, the objectives were not achieved because they're lying, talking out both sides of their mouth in the Orwellian fashion we've become used to. Here's Trump now. He says, achieved every single objective on schedule and exactly as planned from day one. Who believes this bullshit? I guess MAGA, now you're at the level of a child's intellect to believe this. So good job, retards.
As I stated in my announcement of Operation Epic Fury, our objectives are very simple and clear. We are systematically dismantling the regime's ability to threaten America or project power outside of their borders. That means eliminating Iran's navy, which is now absolutely destroyed, hurting their air force and their missile program at levels never seen before, and annihilating their defense industrial base. We've done all of it. Their Navy is gone, their Air Force is gone, their missiles are just about used up or beaten. Taken together, these actions will cripple Iran military, crush their ability to support terrorist proxies, and deny them the ability to build a nuclear bomb. Our armed forces have been extraordinary. There's never been anything like it militarily. Everyone is talking about it.
Seriously. Meanwhile, in the last 24 hours, Iran launched Wave 99 of Operation True Promise 4. Shadow President of America, Bibi here. Here you go. And this is why we can't have peace.
Between Israel and the US against our greatest enemy. This is something we've never witnessed before in the history of Israel as well. And I can reassure everybody who's worried about the relationship between Trump and us, just let me quote him: "You guys are great. We speak every day and we smile as we hear these comments. And anybody who chooses to ignore the magnitude of this cooperation is simply ignoring the truth." Just ship.
There you go. So they're best buds tied at the hip, according to Bibi there. So, and the memes under it, just destroying them. Bibi and Education Minister Kaish out of Aardvark Land announced plans to award Donald Trump the Aardvark Land Prize in 2026, according to Times of Aardvark Land. There you go. This was quite horrific earlier today from Lebanon. This is posted by Al Jazeera. They're bombing downtown Beirut, like heavily populated areas. They bombed the hell out of Lebanon today. We got those reports. Oh, more from our shadow president. Let's hear more from Bibi, where he admits that they are the aggressors in the war and says God will help him achieve total victory. I guess if your God is the light, Lucifer, right? Then maybe it'll work out for him. Here you go. He's admitting he's a war criminal. Arrest him already somewhere, somebody.
We have changed the face of the Middle East in favor of Israel dramatically, and will continue to do so, because we are the initiating side. We are the fighting side. And with the help of God, we will be the side that wins.
More nonsense from Trump here. He says a country supplying military weapons to Iran will be immediately tariffed. Again, the weaponization of the dollar on any and all goods sold to the United States of America, 50% effective immediately. There will be no exceptions or exemptions. So the dollar is, and has been for a long time, fully weaponized against the world. More from Trump here. Aardvark Land, King of Aardvark Land, Trump. The United States will work closely with Iran, which we have determined has gone through what will be a very productive regime change. There's no regime change. What are they talking about? There will be no enrichment of uranium, and the United States will, working with Iran, dig up and remove all the deeply buried B-2 bombers, nuclear dust. It is now, and has been, under very exacting satellite surveillance, Space Force, Nothing has been touched from the date of attack. We are and will be talking tariff and sanction relief with Iran. Many of the 15 points have already been agreed to. Really? Here's bobblehead Levitt, press secretary lady. This is a victory for the United States that President Trump and our incredible military made happen. From the very beginning of Operation Epstein Fury, President Trump estimated this would take 4 to 6. This would be a 4 to 6 week operation. Thanks to the unbelievable capabilities of our warriors, we have achieved and exceeded our core military objectives in 38 days. So they're just lying to the American people here now, as per usual. More from Trump. He said numerous agreements, lists, and letters are being sent out by people that have absolutely nothing to do with the United States Iran negotiation. In many cases, they are total fraudsters, charlatans, and worse. Is he talking about himself? Projection much, Trump? They will be rapidly exposed after our federal investigation is completed. There is only one group of meaningful points that are acceptable to the United States, and we will be discussing them behind closed doors during these negotiations. These are the points that are the basis on which we agreed to a ceasefire. It is something that is reasonable and can easily be dispensed with. It's very much like fake news CNN last night headlining a quote source that had no power or authority to write a letter claiming great authority. Sure, Trump. Debunking the fake news. Here's Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says Iran begged for a ceasefire. Strait of Hormuz is closed right now.
Iran has been a threat to the United States and the free world for 47 years. Chants of death to America, targeting our people, killing Americans, lying and blackmailing their way toward a nuclear weapon, so they thought. No longer. Not on our watch. Other presidents marked time and kicked the can down the road. President Trump made history. From the strike that took out Qasem Soleimani, to tearing up the disastrous Obama-Iran deal, to the precision campaign that obliterated Iran's nuclear sites in Operation Midnight Hammer, to the decisive military victory we just achieved in Operation Epic Fury. No other president has shown the courage and resolve of this commander-in-chief. President Trump forged this moment. Iran begged for this ceasefire, and we all know it.
Really? If you can remember yesterday, I know yesterday's a conspiracy theory, but if you remember yesterday, oil hit an all-time record high. And so was it really Iran that was begging for the ceasefire? Here's Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane, claiming that the objectives laid out in Operation Epstein Fury have been achieved. Maybe they need to send the memo to Fox News.
The United States has devastated the regime's ability to harm Americans and our interests for years to come. Since the beginning of major combat operations, the United States Joint Force has struck more than 13,000 targets, including in that 13,000, more than 4,000 dynamic targets that popped up on the battlefield and were immediately addressed, thanks to the exceptional command and control system and intelligence, acumen, and agility of our joint force. CENTCOM forces destroyed approximately 80% of Iran's air defense systems striking more than 1,500 air defense targets, more than 450 ballistic missile storage facilities, 800 one-way attack drones storage facilities. All of these systems are gone. We've devastated Iran's command and control and logistical networks, destroying more than 2,000 command and control nodes and degrading their ability to target U.S. and friendly forces. It is, and we know this, incredibly frustrating right now to be a lower level Iranian commander trying to fight your fight. As the Secretary said, the Iranian Navy now lies mostly at the bottom of the Arabian Gulf, and we assess that we've sunk more than 90% of their regular fleet, including all of the major surface combatants, as the Secretary said. 150 ships are at the bottom of the ocean, and half of the IRGC Navy small attack boats. Joint fires projected from the land, sea, and air executed more than 700 strikes against naval mine targets, and we assess that we destroyed more than 95% of their naval mines. And perhaps most importantly, we've destroyed Iran's defense industrial base, their ability to reconstitute those capabilities for years to come. We attacked, along with our partners, approximately 90% of their weapons factories. Every factory that produced Shahed one-way attack drones was struck. Every factory that produces the guidance systems that go into those drones was struck. Their missile defense industrial base is shattered, with more than 80% of their missile facilities gone, as well as their solid rocket motor production capability. It will take years for Iran to rebuild any major surface combatants, as more than 20 naval production and fabrication facilities have been damaged or destroyed, and nearly 80% of Iran's nuclear industrial base was hit, further degrading their attempts to attain a nuclear weapon. Throughout Operation Epic Fury, our joint force struck at the heart of Iran's ability to project power and threaten the United States and the region. And in order to do this, it required the
Yeah, we bombed the hell out of them. I don't doubt that. But this thing ain't over. We're going to make sure Iran complies with the ceasefire. That's what Hegseth is saying. We'll be hanging around there. Yeah. Maybe we should just build a giant base there in Aardvark land. That's been proposed. They'll probably do it right there on top of Gaza.
We'll be hanging around. We're not going anywhere. We're going to make sure Iran complies with this ceasefire, and then ultimately comes to the table and makes a deal.
But how about our good buddies? They're the ones not playing the game right now. But that's the elephant in the room. That's the aardvark in the room.
So we'll stay put, stay ready, stay vigilant, as the chairman laid out. Our troops are prepared to defend, prepared to go on offense, prepared to restart at a moment's notice with whatever target package would be needed in order to ensure.
Jan said, sorry, I'm looking at the chat here just to try not to miss anything. Jan said, what is with these people's big ears? I don't know. Does television make your ears look bigger? It's supposed to add like 20 pounds or something to make you look heavier. But I don't know. Maybe it makes your ears look bigger.
That Iran complies. As far as the Strait, you saw the initial agreement that was struck, which is Iran's letting ships go through.
The Strait of Hormuz is closed right now. Like, this press conference was earlier today. I guess that happened afterwards. Let's see. Can we take any more? One more from Hegseth. It's hard to take this guy, but one more from him.
President Trump had the power to cripple Iran's entire economy in minutes. But he chose mercy. He spared those targets because Iran accepted the ceasefire under overwhelming pressure. The new Iranian regime understood that a deal was far better than the fate that awaited them. This new regime just happened to look at what happened to their predecessors. Their top leadership was systematically eliminated. The previous Iranian supreme leader, dead. The Supreme National Security Council Secretary.
I can't take anymore. Khomeini's still the supreme leader there, the son of the committee they whacked. So yeah, good job there. Khomeini's still running Iran. JD Vance here now. Allegedly, he's going to be negotiating. Is there even going to be negotiations? It doesn't appear so. Maybe there will be. Here's JD Vance trying to figure out what the hell's going on, lying out of both sides of his mouth as per usual.
So in the past couple of days, I've seen a lot of reporting from the American media about the 10-point proposal that the Iranians have made. Now, as I know, because I've been involved in this, there are 3 different 10-point proposals at least that I've seen floating around. The first 10-point proposal was something that was submitted, and we think frankly was probably written by ChatGPT, that was submitted to Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner. That immediately went in the garbage and was rejected. There was a second 10-point proposal that was much more reasonable, that was based on some back and forth between us, between the Pakistanis, and between the Iranians. That is the 10-point proposal that the president was referencing in his truth yesterday. And then, frankly, I've seen a third 10-point proposal that's even more maximalist than the first 10-point proposal that's been floating around various social.
There is a lot of disinformation out there. I agree with that point. Here's more from Vance. Says he talked to Ghalibaf. JD Vance, Ghalibaf talked about an attack that had allegedly happened on Iran and how that was a violation of the ceasefire. We'll get to those statements from the Iranians here in a bit.
To address the 3 points, first of all, he talked about an attack that had allegedly happened on Iran and how that was a violation of the ceasefire. Ceasefires are always messy. An hour after the president announced the ceasefire, the Iranians launched a bunch of missiles. Then the Israelis responded. Then some of the Gulf Arab states responded. This is the nature of a ceasefire.
The nature of a ceasefire is keep whacking people. As we know, Aardvark's ceasefire with Lebanon, ceasefire with Gaza, bogus. Just like this ceasefire, bogus. Here's some more from Vance.
I think the third thing that he said was Lebanon. Okay, and again, I actually think that is a reasonable misunderstanding, but neither us nor the Israelis said that that was going to be part of the ceasefire. Again, we're working with people to try to get through some of these things, but it's really fundamentally we're on the right track.
We didn't know Aardvark's whacking a bunch of Lebanese was going to piss them off. They've been saying that the entire time. Who knew? Who knew? Fox News confirms U.S. Aardvark land already violating their own ceasefire terms in less than 24 hours. Who could have seen that coming?
Yeah, this morning there were reports of explosions on 2 Iranian islands and at least 1 oil facility off the coast of Iran, an indication that the United States or Israel is still conducting airstrikes against the Iranian regime. But it also comes amid new incoming fire toward Gulf countries. Both Kuwait and the UAE have reported dozens of ceasefire violations. We're talking about drones and missiles being launched over the Persian Gulf toward these countries. And so it raises questions about if this ceasefire is actually in place, if this is an issue of getting the command down to some of these lower IRGC officials in the south of the country. But what we have seen in the aftermath of that announcement by President Trump is a variety of ceasefire violations by the Iranians that has included ballistic missile fire toward Israel and drone and cruise missile attacks toward Gulf. Yeah.
So everybody's violated the ceasefire. How is there a ceasefire? There's not. We're on day 40 of the Iran war. No matter what these Orwellian liars want to spin it. Okay, continuing here. The White House has announced J.D. Vance will lead the negotiating team in Islamabad on Saturday with Witkoff and Kushner to end the Iran war. Why would they talk to Witkoff and Kushner? They had good negotiations, according to Oman, dude, the mediator. And that night, we bombed the hell out of them. And those negotiations led by Witkoff and Kushner. Give me a freaking break. Why? How are these guys still have a job? They failed at diplomacy and led to war, but yet they're still there because they're liars.
Announced that the president is dispatching his negotiating team, led by the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, Special Envoy Witkoff, and Mr. Kushner to Islamabad for talks this weekend. The first round.
Seriously, clown world. Clown world. Iran told mediators its participation in U.S. talks in Islamabad is conditional on a ceasefire in Lebanon and warned it could reverse plans to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. That was earlier today, report out of the Wall Street Journal. More from Bibi here. Bibi rejects the ceasefire. Bibi rejects President Trump's ceasefire. So there you go.
And Israel is stronger than ever. This is the bottom line of this campaign up until now. Let me say, there are still additional objectives for us to achieve, and we will achieve them either by agreement or by resumption of the fighting. We are ready to resume the fighting at any moment. Our finger is on the trigger. As you know, 2-week ceasefire has been announced between the U.S. and Iran. No, we were not surprised in the last moment, and I want to emphasize, this is not the end of the war. This is a step in order to achieve all the objectives.
There you go. This is not the end of the war, i.e. Iran war, day 40. U.S. has violated ceasefire agreement, Iran parliamentary speaker says. It's a report out of CNBC. Yeah. Trump says Lebanon and Hezbollah not included in Iran ceasefire. Yeah. Quoting Trump now, yeah, they are not included in the deal. When asked about Aardvarkland's ongoing strikes in Lebanon, Trump replied, it's part of the deal. Everybody knows that. That's a separate skirmish. We have a major disconnect here on the communications, that's for sure. Or they're just flat out lying. Maybe a little bit of both. We know they're flat out lying. Here's with the greatest humility, I'm pleased to announce that the Islamic Republic of Iran and the United States of America, along with their allies, have agreed to an immediate ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon and elsewhere, effective immediately. I guess this is one of those fake news, is this Sharif guy, right? He's official from Iran. Yeah. Who cares, right? Aardvarkland airstrike hits a funeral. They're bombing funerals in Lebanon. Killed at least 10 people at a funeral procession earlier today. Here's the video. They whacked a funeral in Lebanon.
Mama.
They killed a journalist too. We'll get to that. Here's what Foreign Minister Argachai had to say about all this. The Iran-U.S. ceasefire terms are clear and explicit. The United States must choose ceasefire or continued war via Aardvarkland. It cannot have both. Can't have it always there. Can't have it always. The world sees the massacre in Lebanon. The ball is in the U.S. court, and the world is watching whether it will act on its commitments. Again, citing Sharif here, including Lebanon. Nobody knew that wasn't part of the deal. It was always part of the deal, according to Iran. Again, who the hell are they? Are they talking to Kushner on the can phone? Who's Trump talking to? Who are we negotiating with? Publicly, the Iranians in their government that are still alive are saying there's a major disconnect and major lies coming out of the U.S. government. Statement published by Iranian parliamentary speaker Ghalibaf on the violation of 3 key clauses of Iran's 10-point proposal. Is this just that made-up bullshit? No, I think this is the 10-point proposal. Statement on the violation of 3 key clauses of the 10-point proposal agreed framework before the start of the negotiations. The deep historical distrust we hold toward the United States stems from its repeated violations of all forms of commitments, a pattern that has regrettably been repeated once again. Well, they're damn Iranian terrorists, right? As the President of the United States has clearly stated in his truth, the Islamic Republic of Iran's 10-point proposal is a workable basis on which to negotiate, and the main framework for these talks. However, 3 clauses of this proposal have been violated so far. We weren't even 24 hours into it, man. Come on. Number 1, non-compliance with the first clause of the 10-point proposal regarding the ceasefire in Lebanon, a commitment that Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has also explicitly referred to and declared as an immediate ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon and other regions effective immediately. Number 2, the entry of an intruding drone into Iranian airspace, which was destroyed in the city of Lar in Fars province, in clear violation of the clause prohibiting any further violation of Iranian airspace. Number 3, denial of Iran's right to enrichment, which was included in 6th clause of the framework. Now, the very workable basis on which to negotiate has been openly and clearly violated even before the negotiations began. In such a situation, a bilateral ceasefire or negotiations is unreasonable, i.e., Iran war day 40. Military advisor to Iran's supreme leader warns ceasefire is collapsing, vows to punish the Zionist entity. This guy, I'm sure he's on the hit list. He looks all pissed off. I'd probably be all pissed off too if I was him. That dude, Mohsen Razi, former IRGC commander-in-chief, now serving as military advisor to Supreme Leader Khomeini, issued a stark warning today that aardvark land strikes on Lebanon continued despite a declared ceasefire. He says, "We stand with all might alongside the Hezbollah, Mujahideen, and we will punish the Zionist entity. The responsibility for the collapse of the ceasefire lies with America, which either does not want to or cannot leash its rabid dog. Violations of the ceasefire by America will also not be tolerated." And they're saying that this guy is now, they whacked the softer guys, and now the hardliners are in there, is what they're saying. So good job achieving your objectives there, Trump. You just made it worse. Thank you very much for that. Only 3 vessels have crossed the Strait of Hormuz since the ceasefire. Lloyd's List reports all 3 ships had current or past links to Iran, according to the Monitor. All 3 vessels were heading toward or through the Iran-approved corridor. This comes despite the U.S.-Iran truce contradicting claims of an uptick in traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. They're fucking lying. They're just lying. According to Fars news agency, the Strait of Hormuz is completely closed now. Who's this guy? Iraqi now. We're whacking Iraqis again. It's like it's 2003 all over again. Isn't it wonderful? The never-ending war on terror. Secretary General Mujaba of the Secretary General of the Al-Nujaba movement in Iraq, Al-Kaibi, one of these Iranian militia groups, right? He said, in light of the Zionist enemy's continued recklessness, its violation of covenants and agreements, and its targeting of our people in Lebanon, as is its consistent way, grounded in treachery, deceit, and falsehood, the resistance front will return to discipline it with force. These vile actors do not cease except to break their pledges and commitments. But let them know that times have changed, circumstances have shifted, and they will come to regret this betrayal. That's this dude, head of Iranian militia there in Iraq. Statement by Hezbollah. They put out a long one. I'll just read you the first paragraph. They say, driven by blind hatred, entrenched criminality, and boundless brutality that has become inherent to its nature, the aardvark enemy today carried out a wave of massacres against citizens, targeting residential areas with dozens of violent airstrikes in southern suburbs, Beirut, Sidon, the south, and the Bekaa, leaving hundreds of martyrs and wounded, including children, women, and the elderly. And they go on to berate the evil Zionist entity in that statement from Hezbollah. CNN says there does not appear to be a formal written agreement for a ceasefire. There's no, like the tariffs, like all this trade deal, it's just Trump talking out of his asshole, which happens to be his mouth. There's no written agreements for any of this, but they're using Trump's public statements to manipulate the market, and they're making a lot of money on this as well. All of that's going on as innocent women and children are dying. You see, that's going on here now. There is no agreement. There is no ceasefire. It's Trump talking out of his ass. It's going after MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Trader Brown's Greene turns to Brown under stress. Seat in Congress has been taken over by a wonderful and talented man, Clay Fuller, who won convincingly, and right from the beginning, despite many people running for that Trump plus 37 seat, and despite the stench left by Greene, congratulations to Clay Fuller, a very large improvement over his deranged predecessor. Shows you how Trump treats those that are deemed disloyal to the king here now, right? On to public health, and then we got a lot more war news here now. I think we fully established that we're on Iran war day 40, and the ceasefire is in tatters, and the Strait of Hormuz is closed. And Trump has achieved none of his alleged objectives in the war against Iran. Let's move on to public health quickly in the last 5 minutes before the top of the hour. Guess what? We still have, well, glyphosate's a national security concern. They're blocking trying to take fluoride out of the water from the feds are. Thanks a lot, HHS. And of course, we know the miracles are rolling right along as per usual. And there's reports of new bats out there as well. But hey, in the meantime, Bobby Kennedy Jr., Health and Human Services Secretary, has found the time to launch a new podcast. Here's the preview. After totally failing Maha.
For decades now, Americans have been told that we should trust the system, but our children are sicker, chronic diseases exploding, and the answers that we've been given aren't working. Many of us have come to the conclusion that government actually lies to us. I'm Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your HHS secretary. This podcast is about telling the truth, especially when it's uncomfortable. I'm going to have fearless conversations with critical thinkers, including independent doctors, respected scientists, and leaders in medical innovation and research. I'm going to ask the questions and lift the taboos.
Is this needed? We know what the issues are already, man. Maha, in a coalition with Trump MAGA, were put there to fix what we already know the problems are. You see, we don't need a freaking another podcast to rehash all of this. We know already. Take your GLP-1 synthetic Gila monster venom. They're pushing that out of the White House. Bobblehead Levitt. Americans paying less as Trump drug pricing push slashes GLP-1 and fertility medicine. Telling you, man, these GLP-1s, horrific side effects. And allegedly, Simon did send me a video. It was, what's that show, Redacted? They had on, they had Malone, Dr. Malone, right? And he's talking about, yeah, Maha's dead. They're not going to reform any of the miracle. And he said, I didn't play the clip because we'll probably get flagged for it. But he said in that interview that this guy was a major guy blocking it. Right. And I don't trust Dr. Malone at all either. But apparently the FDA, dude, according to Dr. Malone, this guy's the guy blocking reform of miracles, the head of the FDA, Markery. Who knows? I don't trust any of them at this point. Neither should you. But hey, at least we're getting small breadcrumbs. Hospital food is notoriously appalling. I agree. And the freaking, you can't even open a window, right? You can't even open a window. It's just like everything satanic inversion of reality. That's where we're at with public health here from Rockefeller Medicine in America. But they are trying to reform the horrible hospital food that could cause some people to die earlier.
Breaking news. A safety and quality special alert was just issued by CMS under the guidance of Secretary Kennedy. We are asking all hospitals in the country to use the dietary guidelines that were put in place in January by Health and Human Services, the United States Department of Agriculture, to get those foods onto the tables.
Seriously, the hospitals, you're paying them money to allegedly make you better, right, when you're sick. And so, but they need the government to tell them, don't feed people freaking cardboard and yoga mats. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, wow, man. We are in dystopia. Very sad state of affairs here. For public health, still, I mean, we voted our way. We got our guy in there. Nothing changes still. Nothing changes. We're not getting the reform we were promised. It goes to show you this whole system is total bullshit. Voting don't matter. Nothing matters. Whoever's donating to these politicians, that's what matters. That's who they listen to, and whoever's got the blackmail on them, and that's America. Sad to say. Okay, let's take our live commercial break here right now. At the top of the hour, thank you everybody for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Sadly, the ceasefire is not holding. It's already been violated by all sides. Hopefully it doesn't crank up back into full-on bombing campaign by the United States against Iran, which may very well happen. May very well happen here soon as the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition of Weaponized News. Get yourself a holograph sticker at weaponizednews.com/shop. We have the holograph sticker, the white background sticker, the clear sticker over there. All these different stickers, 3 different stickers at the store there. We have baseball caps, t-shirts, coffee mugs, all kind of gear over there. With Weaponized News logos, we have custom t-shirts. Go take a look. Patron the store. Help support independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week, broadcasting live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern. Weaponizednews.com/shop. Take a look in the description below. You can find that link. If you don't want to patron the store, we take donations. Let me put the snail mail address scrolling right there. You can send your snail mail, love letters, hate mail. Don't send anything that's, you know what I'm saying, liquids in the mail. Anyway, can reach us at snail mail address, the bottom of your screen there. We take donations, buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App. Links are all in the description below this video. Any which way you choose to support this broadcast and support independent reporting and analysis is truly appreciated. You can become a paid subscriber at Weaponized News Substack. The value there is I put the links to almost everything we talk about on this show for documentation purposes and for your further research purposes. So you can become a paid subscriber, Weaponized News Substack. Any which way you choose to support is greatly appreciated. Thank you to all the patrons to the store, subscribers, to snail mailers out there, Mac and Pamela most recently. I got your mail. I appreciate it. Thank you. I love you guys. All right. That's about all I got on the commercial message. Hopefully tomorrow we can get Ruckus back on the show. He's hopefully he's done celebrating the ceasefire, and so he can join us tomorrow when he's feeling a little bit better. So we look forward to that. All right, welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Wednesday, April 8th, 2026 edition. Thank you for joining us. Now we're going to move on to a little bit of science section, NASA section. What is up with NASA? I don't know. They're still in space, allegedly, coming back Friday, I believe. But let's hear now from CERN's Director General, Mark Thompson. He explains CERN's purpose and says its Large Hadron Collider will shut down in June for a major upgrade scheduled to restart in 2030. So, yeah, it'll be fun in 2030 when they restart CERN right on time to make sure we fulfill the UN goals for sustainable development, Agenda 2030, right? Maybe CERN can help play a part in that. Let's hear from the director of CERN here now.
General at CERN, thank you so much for joining New Scientist today. There's a bit of background noise today because we are in SM18 with this amazing machine behind us. Can you explain a bit about the room we're in right now?
Yeah, so it's great to have a chance to speak to you. So what you see next to me is a test string of the high luminosity LHC magnets. So come this summer, we're switching off the LHC for a period of 4 years to install this remarkable technology in place just around where the experiments are. This will give us a machine that's 10 times brighter than the Large Hadron Collider, 10 times more data, so it really is an opportunity to explore the universe in a way we haven't done before. This technology here didn't exist when we built the LHC. And actually what we're doing is we're testing it on the surface, because when you go underground, the tunnel is actually quite narrow. So it's much easier to do tests up on the surface. So very, very advanced technology, very exciting, big step forward.
And just to give some context about where we are, outside this room we're surrounded by the Swiss and French Alps. Underneath us there's an enormous 27-kilometre ring that makes up the main collider at CERN, the LHC. There's a lot of misconception maybe from the public. It seems quite secretive what's going on here. We had to get through a lot of security to kind of get in here. Can you just explain what is the point of the LHC, what is the point of CERN, and kind of what actually happens here?
The world scientific community, particularly in Europe, have come together at CERN basically to explore the universe, to understand the fundamental nature of the universe. That's CERN's mission. It's as simple as that. We want to understand how the universe works. CERN is the world's biggest particle physics laboratory. The Large Hadron Collider is the world's biggest collider, 27 kilometres in circumference. It's about 80 metres below where we are now. And what we do is we accelerate protons in 2 different directions around the ring. So we start with a tiny bottle of hydrogen, and we put those individual, basically protons, well actually then we attach a charge to them, and that's not quite the same. We put them in a small linear accelerator to accelerate them up to a not very high energy. Then we put them into a small circular accelerator called the PS. Then we put them into a bigger circular accelerator to get them up to higher energy. And all the time we're increasing the energy of these protons. And then we put them in the Large Hadron Collider. And we have these big blue magnets that steer them around the ring. So they keep them going in the circle. And they have to be big and powerful because we're accelerating these particles to 99.9999991% of the speed of light. So you have to have strong magnets to keep them on that circle. And every time they go around, we give them a little kick with kind of what we call radio frequency accelerations. And that's how we accelerate them up to these very, very high energies. So you've got one ring of protons going this way around, one going this way around, and then as they come towards the experiments, they're circulating in the ring about that far apart. We then push them together, bring them to a tiny point, and that's when you get this massive collisions, and that's what we photograph, those collisions. And we can figure out from those images what happened quantum mechanically when these protons collided. And that's how we try and understand how the universe really works at a fundamental level. Certainly in our underground facilities, we can't just let people wander down there. Well, you can even see here there's a lot of liquid helium, there's a lot of high power. But in terms of our site, we're actually quite open. We have the Science Gateway, which I would recommend to everyone to visit if you get the chance. It's the #1 tourist attraction in Geneva. A Science Gateway, a science exhibition being the #1 tourist attraction is a...
So awesome. They're shutting down till 2030. And then they can flush the world down a black hole or whatever the hell they can do there. Continuing here, more from NASA again yesterday. They told us this was the first picture ever from the far side of the moon, seeing the Earth. And so I was like, and I was seeing videos, people are posting these videos of the original. And you can find here's the original right from the source. I'm not, this is right from NASA, right? I don't know. Take a look. Does this look real to you? What was this? Apollo? This is Apollo 11 moon landing footage. I don't know. Call me skeptical.
Things look real close.
Crowds around this country and all over the world are watching this, listening to these communications.
Altitude now 21,000 feet, still looking
closely
very
as we are. This is the International Arrivals Building, Kennedy Airport, with a big display board there.
Velocity down now to 1,200 feet per second. Looking great.
Disneyland in California.
Okay, I'm still on.
They're mocking us, right? Disneyland in California. Crowds gathered to watch this. It's a freaking cartoon. Here's the touchdown. Look. Fast forwarded through some of it.
75 feet. Guys looking good. Down a half. 6 forward. 60 seconds. Lights on. 6. Down 2.5.
Just exactly nominal, wasn't it? Exactly as a flight plan all the way down. Man planning this thing on the surface.
There you go, a little bit of it. I'll put the link. You could go see the full video or just search it up on NASA YouTube channel. Looks fake as hell to me. Rise and shine, space fans, NASA says. Here's from the mission they're on right now, Artemis 2. And this is a visualization. Why are they putting this stuff out? Can I even play this? What are they? Oh, I can't play it because they're playing Queen and David Bowie Under Pressure. I can't play it. They'll tag me for copyright. So no audio on this, but this is from NASA earlier today. They posted this. Sorry, no Under Pressure there with that dun 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 ice ice baby. No, that was actually Queen and David Bowie. But anyway, we can't play that because they'll tag us for copyright. But allegedly, these are scenes from Artemis 2. Yeah, not much going on there. That's all they gave us. That's all they gave us in a potential copyright violation. Thanks a lot, NASA. Continuing here, but there's more. Even NASA said it, but there's more. So they said in their post here. But wait, there's more. And so you too can get, I don't know, are you going to download these? They're trying to get you. There's a big push now. I've been noticing from the White House, now NASA, they want you to download their apps. I think I'm going to do a hard pass on downloading any government apps. It's a hard pass for me, but here's you can download, experience the magic, they tell us. Experience the magic of our moon mission wherever you go. Download free mobile wallpapers and bring your device into the new era of exploration. Experience the magic. It just feels like a giant humiliation, mockery ritual going on here now. Artemis 2 wallpapers, and again, I won't be downloading any of these, but you're free to. I don't know why you would even do that. You can just go download. You can download the images right from their social medias. I don't know why you need to download from them directly. I don't know. Wait, maybe for some tracking. Okay, on to, yeah, and I guess they're supposed to come back to Earth Friday, right? Friday. We'll be following along here, and be part of the experience of the magic. Okay, on to economic news now. Honda's CEO warned after visiting China, we have no chance against this, referring to China's ultra-fast, low-cost auto supply chain. Other leaders also alarmed. Ford CEO warned China could put us all out of business. And Toyota said, unless things change, we will not survive. That's a report out of Motor One. Here is J.D. Vance in Hungary talking about foreign influence is when other governments threaten, cajole, and try to use economic influence to tell you how to vote. that is fundamentally an assault on your sovereignty. So he's backhandedly admitting the weaponization of the dollar is assaulting sovereign countries around the world.
I wasn't even aware that Zelensky had said that he was going to send private soldiers to the prime minister's residence until yesterday. Victor actually told me that, and then I went and looked it up. Almost couldn't believe it's true, but it's true. It's completely scandalous. You should never have a foreign head of government or a foreign head of state threatening the head of government of an allied nation. It's preposterous. It's unacceptable. And what I find so interesting about, there's a lot of conversation about foreign influence in our elections. So you saw this back in 2016, where a lot of the American media said that it was a true scandal that the Russian government bought like $500,000 of Facebook advertisements during the 2016 campaign. And for what it's worth, I don't want Russia involved in our elections in the same way that I'm sure you don't want any other country involved in your elections. I've also been told that the Vice President of the United States coming and saying that Viktor Orban is doing a good job and is a helpful statesman to the cause of peace, that's foreign influence. But what's not foreign influence is when the European Union threatens billions of dollars withheld from Hungary because you guys protect your borders. That's apparently not foreign influence. What's not foreign influence is when the Ukrainians shut down pipelines, causing suffering among the Hungarian people in an effort to influence an election. That's allegedly not foreign influence. It doesn't pass the smell test. Foreign influence is when other governments threaten, cajole, and try to use economic influence to tell you how to vote. And that, to the Hungarian people, whether you like...
So America does all over the world through the weaponization of the dollar, the world's reserve currency. A drone struck a pumping station alongside Saudi Arabia's east-west pipeline earlier today, according to the Financial Times and Bloomberg. Saudi Aramco has thus far declined to comment. And so that's a big part of their pipeline here being struck, part of destroying the world's energy infrastructure. It's ongoing here now. And so that was struck by an Iranian drone, allegedly. Here's just an old image of them building it, obviously, but yeah. So energy infrastructure under attack today. Bloomberg reports that at least 800 vessels are still trapped in the Persian Gulf as key details of the U.S.-Iran truce remain uncertain. There isn't a truce. Several ship owners told Bloomberg they were calling insurers and security advisors and had put vessels on standby. Market manipulation, again, that's what they're doing here now. Trump, his whole crew, they need to be arrested for insider trading at the very least here now, because they're making a lot of money. It's blood money. It's blood money. They're using U.S. military guns, and they're making a lot of money off the back of Trump's bullshit statements. More market manipulation. Investors placed a huge $950 million bet. $950 million is still a lot of money. Bet that oil prices would fall just hours before the U.S. and Iran agreed to a ceasefire, selling large volumes of Brent and U.S. crude futures ahead of the announcement, according to a report out of Reuters, because they're constantly gaming the market, knowing that whatever Trump says, it's going to go up or down, right? And they have foreknowledge of it, i.e. insider trading. And they're playing a very dangerous game with people's lives at stake. And people are dying for this now. There's a report out of Reuters. But they're making $1 gazillion, so people's lives simply don't matter in that regard, right? No lives matter to these maniacs. Massive debt makes the United States, one of the world's most vulnerable countries in the energy crisis. The chair of Rockefeller International, the global investment strategy arm of Rockefeller Capital Management, said, Sharma is his last name. Even Rockefeller Capital Management is saying, hey, 39 trillion and ticking faster than we can see there, right? Adding dollars in a nanosecond. So even Rockefeller's starting to say, hey guys, wait a minute here. Millions of Americans paid billions in tariffs, later ruled illegal, and they won't see a dime back. It's a report out of, or a headline out of Fortune magazine. Thanks a lot, Trump. And then you would think on the news of a ceasefire, the price of a gallon of gasoline in America would go down. You would think so, but you would be wrong, because that did not happen. And so even upon the news of the fake ceasefire, we now take a look at the AAA national average for a price of a gallon of gasoline in America here. And it's actually risen. Yesterday, it was $4.14. It's actually risen today to $4.16. And again, we're edging towards $6 a gallon here in California. And again, it's the difference between the California price and the national average is state taxes and environmental regulations. So there you go. But funny how news of a ceasefire and the price of a gallon of gasoline on average across the nation, according to AAA, increased today. So the Rockefeller oil oligarchs are price gouging Americans here now, using the Iran war as the excuse. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Okay, where are we at here? Which section are we on? That was about all the economics I had. Strait of Hormuz is closed. Still blowing up energy infrastructure. Not good for the global economy. Okay, well, on to the Epstein section. They're acting like they care about the children again at the White House. And yesterday marked the very first conviction under the Take It Down Act, landmark legislation that Melania Trump played an instrumental role in getting passed. This is a huge achievement for the First Lady. That's a bobblehead lady. Love it.
I have a quick update from the First Lady of the United States. Yesterday marked the very first conviction under the Take It Down Act, landmark legislation that First Lady Melania Trump played an instrumental role in getting passed, that protects victims from non-consensual AI-generated sexually explicit images, cyber stalking, and threats of violence. This is a huge achievement for the First Lady, and I know the President is very proud.
Damn, don't break your arm patting yourself on the back there. And yeah, all that stuff's horrible, but again, they're going to use this against us. You see, it is the problem. They're going to use this against legitimate content that is not this AI-generated sexually explicit images, cyber stalking, and threats of violence. All that's bad, and people shouldn't do it, and it's illegal, and they should get them, right? But they're going to use this on legitimate content that's none of that is the problem here now, as the Epstein cover-up continues. Columbus man pleads guilty to cyber stalking exes, creating AI-generated obscene material of adults and children. The defendant is the first in the nation convicted of violating the Take It Down Act. Columbus man pleads guilty. There you go. Meme from the Justice Department. Because they care about the victims of this abuse so much, but they're continuing to cover up the Epstein files. Another one, the government got, and good, but these are the street level offenders. They got a illegal alien child raper, right? Good job. A real applause for that. But we got, this is just a speck of sand in the beach of corruption here. An illegal alien with a rap sheet is accused of sexually assaulting a 14-year-old girl at church in Kentucky while serving as her pastor. Throw the book at him. Throw him in the wood chipper if it's true. You know what I mean? 100%. 100%. And making it even worse, serving as the girl's pastor, right? But that's, is this guy part of the Epstein network? I don't think so. Maybe he's part of these bigger trafficking networks. I don't know. Maybe this is an individual, just sick pervert. Here's the dude, illegal alien, serving as her pastor in Kentucky. There you go. If he's found guilty and it's legitimate, wood chipper him, right? But but they're covering up the Epstein files. Here's Rogan, and it's good. It's good. I'm not a Rogan fan. I don't listen to the guy. I can't even hardly listen to any of these shows anymore. But when big shows, and he's still the biggest show, right? When big shows are making these points, I applaud them.
Somebody should be in trouble for the Epstein files. Somebody.
At least one person, please?
Yes. It's crazy that we're sitting around looking at that.
It's crazy.
And we know it, and we say it, but ain't a motherfucking thing we can do about it.
Right. It's like right now, there's some talk about journalists getting in trouble for leaking information about the downed pilot and that they want to prosecute these journalists. At the same time, no one's being prosecuted for the Epstein files.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
That was an old comment from Jam, but yeah, it's one big Rothschild corporation, not a government. Yeah. Epstein ties to Arab royals, an offer to tutor Crown Prince, a gift from Mecca. That's a report out of the Miami Herald today. Yeah. Epstein had regular correspondence with members of the ruling classes in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Yemen, UAE. He invited them to his properties and gave them business advice, even suggesting to Saudi palace officials that he tutor the Crown Prince about the ways of Wall Street. They're all devils, man. All of these people. They all need to see a wood chipper. Continuing here. Bondi defies House subpoena over Epstein files. And so Bondi, Pam Bondi, will not comply with a subpoena to appear before the House Oversight Committee. Bill Gates and Lutnick are scheduled to appear there, but Bondi won't. Now they're saying they have to reschedule it. Pam Bondi cannot escape accountability simply because she no longer holds the office of Attorney General, Nancy Mace said. Well, I thought that would be what helped her escape accountability. Our motion to subpoena Pam Bondi, which was passed by the Oversight Committee, was for Bondi by name, not by title. They're trying to bring her in. She doesn't want to come in. We'll see what happens there. We'll see what happens there, as she was key in covering up the Epstein files as the cover-up continues and we continue to report. Here's Iranian spokesman. This guy's always all pissed off, but he's nailing it down right here.
In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, the crimes, warmongering, and misguided policies of Tehran, driven by the delusional advice of his advisors, have brought nothing but bloodshed and insecurity to the region and the world, sparking protest movement involving millions of people in the United States and other countries. The multi-million protests in the United States reflect concerns about the uncertain future of a war that the United States president, due to entanglement in the Epstein case, is compelled to pursue in line with the demands of the Mossad organization and the terrorist prime minister of the Zionist regime. The American people may understand the damages of this war better than Trump and the country's senior commanders, who thousands of kilometers away from the battlefield are engaged in indulgence and leisure while encouraging soldiers toward death from afar. Their assessment of the dark and perilous future of the war is more accurate, and this is the main reason behind their mass protest. You should know, we have repeatedly stated that we have not initiated any war, but after any act of aggression, with strength and by divine will, it is we who will determine how the...
So it sure looks like Iran, like Trump bombed Iran as a wag the dog type scenario to distract attention away from the Epstein files, as that Iranian spokesman stated there. Here's and that was from William Ramsey post, and here's another one from him, flashback to Ted Cruz.
And tragically, this pattern keeps on happening. Now, Senator Booker also said we should have bipartisan agreement. I think that's a great idea. We should have bipartisan agreement. How about we all come together and say, let's stop murders? How about we all come together and say, let's stop rape? How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles?
What? Said that. And this one's from William Ramsey. He says this kind of stuff is in the Epstein files. Indeed, we covered it in great detail, but it's everywhere, man.
These are the times that I am discouraged about my job as a representative, and also just what happens here at the Capitol. We sat in a committee all day discussing whether or not somebody that buys little children, these are 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old kids, and they buy them for sex, that we tried to get a bill through, Representative Bradley sent one through, that was going to put these buyers in jail. Right now, most of the time, they get off on probation. Almost all the time, they get off on probation after buying a child and raping a little child. And we tried to say, well, they need to at least serve.
They get off on probation? Everybody involved, wood chipper.
A minimum of 4 years. And then we sat and listened to the Democrats fight against this bill, fight against putting these people in jail, and came up with all kinds of reasons, including that these buyers are victims themselves. This is very discouraging, and it's also very disgusting for me that they would actually defend this. And then they voted completely along party lines. The Democrats voted 100% that they did not want to put these pedophiles in jail. They defended the pedophiles. This is why it's so difficult sometimes to do what we do around here. We know we're on the side of right, we know we're on the side of morality, and we get shot down by, I do not understand the thought process behind this, but we do get shot down. This is why I would encourage you to do a few things to help us with this. First, if you believe in prayer at all, please pray. We are fighting truly dark forces here. This is not okay. This is evil stuff that we're dealing with. And if you have the ability to come up and testify on bills or anything like this, please do so. Your voice is very important to what we're trying to accomplish around here. We are the minority, but with you, we become a powerful.
Who wants to blame Democrats in Colorado? I got news for you. There's plenty of Republicans as well. as well. And that may very well be the case there in the state government of Colorado. But there's plenty of Republicans as well. Okay, on to our geopolitical section of the show now. The Bilderberg Group is going to meet early this year, it appears. The participant list was leaked to independent reporter journalist Dan Dix, and he posted it on the X. And so now we're going to take a look. Thank you, Dan Dix, for your work exposing the Bilderberg Group. So there it is. The Bilderberg Group meeting is going to be in Washington, D.C., April 9th through the 12th. And I believe it's 4 pages. Again, I'll post this, or you can go to Dan Dix and download it, whatever. Take a look. But here's the, and it is appears in alphabetical order. And you can see they tell you what country they're from, their name, and their title. So thankfully, we'll have the U.S. Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, there, talking about a, I don't know, backdoor digital currency, mark of the beast system. Sure, that'll be wonderful. So that's just one name that jumps off the page when I look at the first page. Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, at the Bilderberg Group meeting. See if we can spy anybody here quickly that jumps off the page. I'm mostly looking for U.S. names there. Anybody? Well, another United States Trade Representative, Gur Jamieson. Palantir CEO Alex Karp at the Bilderberg Group meeting. Wowzers, man. But it gets better, because I do believe, who else do we have here? Let's take a look. Anybody jumps off the page for us? Well, there's out of the U.S., Satya, CEO of Microsoft. U.S. Indo-Pacific Commander, Samuel Paparo. Anybody else jumping off the page? Eric Schmidt there. Of course, he was former head of Google, right? Now what is he? He's Executive Chair, CEO, Relativity Spaces Incorporated. And then finally here we see Vice President J.D. Vance's mentor and financial backer, Peter Thiel, president of Thiel Capital, Mr. Technocracy there. And this guy, Farhid Zakaria, he's a very serious CNN newsman, right? But he's also meeting at the Bilderberg Group. Yeah, so we'll look forward to that. It starts tomorrow, I guess, right? So we'll have to see. We'll have to see what reporting comes out of there. It's usually very quiet, but hey, through the exposure of independent journalists, they now have a website. So we'll have to see if they publish a website. Well, they do have a website. We'll have to see if they're publishing updated information on it. But appears the meeting starts tomorrow. Thank you, Dan Dix, for posting that leak of the attendee list. Put it on our schedule of coverage to report all the tyranny that we can figure out is coming out of that meeting. Senior Iranian official Odysee, he says, once again, you've shown You don't understand concept of ceasefire. Who knew? Who knew? I know it's hard for aardvarks to understand because they say we have a ceasefire and they shoot you in the face, right? So here it is. It's a hard concept to understand, apparently. Once again, you have shown you don't understand the concept of ceasefire, and only fire is what brings you to your senses. So you must wait for it. Yeah. Ceasefire is kind of hard to understand. Former SOCOM employee arrested for leaking information to the media. The FBI tells us. Cash Patel, he won the gold medal for Epstein cover-ups. FBI and our partners have arrested a former SOCOM employee who supported our top-level military warfighters for allegedly transmitting classified information to a member of the media. Outstanding work by FBI Charlotte. Let this serve as a message to any would-be leakers. We're working these cases. We're making arrests. The FBI will not tolerate those who seek to betray our country and put Americans in harm's way. Well, very genuine sentiment there from the gold medal winner of Epstein cover-ups, Cash Patel, your director of the FBI. Reported out of the Wall Street Journal, Trump is considering a plan to punish NATO members he believes were unhelpful to the United States and aardvark land in the Iran war, removing U.S. troops out of member countries deemed unhelpful to the war effort. The idea has been floated by Trump and his administration. Again, we're in a new era, a new world order. All of these things are happening to bring that about. On the geopolitical stage, Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez said just today Netanyahu launches his harshest attack against Lebanon since the offensive began. His contempt for life and international law is intolerable. Lebanon must be included in the ceasefire. The European Union must suspend its association agreement with aardvark land. Well, that sounds antiseptic, and you're probably going to be sanctioned and droned there, Prime Minister Sanchez out of Spain. There you go. And there must be no impunity for these criminal acts. Yeah, he's got an international arrest warrant on him for genocide and war crimes. Why don't one of you Europeans enforce it? There's an idea. And more of this tit for tat, back and forth. The war is still ongoing. Iranian sources claim Mirage 2009 jets operated by the UAE were involved in an attack on the Levan Island refinery earlier today. Reports also say that the United States told Iran the strikes were not linked to the United States or aardvark land. And we didn't get enough earlier, but this is a short clip from Shadow President Bibi again. I know everybody on the stream loves Bibi.
Until this point, and I'd like to stress, we still have some goals to accomplish, and we will achieve these goals either through agreement and consensus or through renewal of the war, because we...
Again, the Orwellian, all of them do it, right? They talk out both sides of their mouth. We're not done with the war, but in the meantime, when the war's up, what? The enriched uranium will come out of Iran either by agreement or by resumption of force. They keep now they're just hanging on to, oh my gosh, the enriched uranium. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I think earlier I said the 99th wave was the 100th wave. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announced earlier today wave 100 of Operation True Promise 4. In the 100th wave, codename Ya Fahima al-Zahra, and dedicated to Bahraini martyr Nasrallah, as well as Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the old supreme leader. They say this wave, the 100th wave of Operation True Promise 4, struck more than 25 strategic targets across the region using ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and drones. Reported targets include Chevron oil and gas facilities in Saudi Arabia, Exxon Mobil and Dow petrochemical facilities in Saudi Arabia, U.S. linked oil facilities in Yanbu on the Red Sea, the Habsan oil facilities and the Abu Dhabi pipeline, Exxon Mobil facilities in Qatar, Bapco refinery in Bahrain, Das Island refinery, UAE, oil storage and facilities in Kuwait, Dolphin gas project in Qatar, Zirku oil island, Sat Orp refinery, and Manfia oil and gas facilities. Additional targets included aardvark land sites such as technology and cyber centers in Beersheba. Was that the place? I think Beersheba was the place where they're like, they're bombing us here, aardvark land government, do something. And they're like, nah, you guys are, you know what I mean? I think that was the same place. I remember that report where they're like, hey, somebody do something. They're like, whatever, dude. So you can see major attacks earlier today in wave 100. And there's even more. They talk about, oh yeah, they attacked the Ben Gurion airport, the Haifa refinery, and aardvark land military command complexes in Jerusalem. They had a lot of stuff in this wave 100, man. That was earlier today, blowing up continually the energy infrastructure there in West Asia. The leader of the opposition there in aardvark land has admitted that the country is losing badly against Iran and has failed to achieve its objectives of regime change. This guy sounds like Fox News. He's speaking in his, I got something stuck in my throat language, but we do have English subtitle translation, I believe. Let's hear the opposition leader of the aardvarks there to Netanyahu in aardvark land.
מכל התוצאות האפשריות, נתניהו הגיע לתוצאה הגרועה ביותר. השלטון באיראן לא הובס, האיום הגרעיני לא הוסר, הטילים הבליסטיים והטילים של חיזבאללה עדיין מכוונים לכל בית בישראל. מדינת ישראל יצאה למלחמה הזו בקונסנזוס נדיר. הציבור תמך מקיר לקיר, אני תמכתי במלחמה ובמטרותיה. מהרגע הראשון, בעשרות ראיונות בתקשורת הבינלאומית. אבל אחרי 6 שבועות של הרוגים ופצועים וריצה למקלטים, התברר שנתניהו לא מסוגל לנצח שום מערכה. ראש הממשלה רימה את אזרחי...
So isn't that antiseptic? He says that Netanyahu has no chance of winning. I mean...
ישראל רימה את שותפיו, מכר לציבור בסדרה של מסיבות עיתונאים תיאטרליות, תוכנית אסטרטגית שלא הייתה קיימת. לישראל לא הייתה שום השפעה על ההסכם שנחתם הלילה בין ארצות הברית לאיראן בתיווך פקיסטני. ינסו למכור לכם שהשפענו מאחורי הקלעים, שהתייעצו איתנו, שהיו שיחות ליליות ופגישות חשאיות. תדעו, אלו שקרים. שקרים חלולים.
So there you go. He was saying all that because he's antiseptic, right? And he's the opposition. Trust in our shadow president, Bibi. The cover of Iran's far Hekan to gang. I can't even pronounce it. It's Farsi anyway. Daily newspaper reads The Gambler Lost. That's the translation here. On a big daily newspaper there in Iran. After 40 days of an unjust war, the United States accepted defeat in the face of the Iranian people's steadfastness and the heroic actions of the armed forces, stating that Iran's 10-point proposal would serve as the basis for negotiations. And they threw it in the garbage, as J.D. Vance said, right? Here's sad state of affairs. Palestinian children's rights group shuts down amid sustained aardvark land pressure. Defense for Children International Palestine, DCIP, announced it has ceased operations after 35 years of documenting violations against Palestinian children, citing aardvark lands targeted criminalization and restriction on human rights organizations. The Ramallah-based charity said the increasingly hostile environment made it impossible to continue its work protecting minors affected by military operations and detention practices. Yeah, you're lucky they don't whack you next. That's probably what they told them. Founded in 1991, DCI has long been a critical source for international organizations, journalists, and legal advocates reporting on cases of torture, abuse, and administrative detention of Palestinian children and minors. Rights defenders warn that its closure leaves a major gap in international monitoring amid ongoing conflict and humanitarian crisis. The announcement comes as aardvark land escalates legal and political pressure on Palestinian NGOs, including last year's order forcing 37 organizations to shut down for refusing to comply with new restrictions. And they're whacking the hell out of journalists. We got these reports coming up. So yeah, shut down all of the NGOs there. Anybody reporting on your war crimes, your crimes against humanity, your genocide, shut them all down. Don't let international journalists in to see what's actually happening there. A little bit has come through, and we've shown you the images. They've turned Gaza into an apocalyptic hellscape. That's per the United Nations. Defense Minister Katz out of aardvark land earlier today, he said hundreds of Hezbollah terrorists were attacked in a sunrise strike on headquarters across Lebanon. In the largest concentrated blow Hezbollah has absorbed since Operation Buzzers. That's the pager attack, right? I didn't even know it's called Operation Buzzers, but that's what he said. We warned Qasem that Hezbollah will pay a heavy price for attacking aardvark land on Iran's behalf, and Qasem personnel turn will come too. Lebanese civil defense says 254 people have been killed and 1,165 wounded in aardvark land strikes on Lebanon today. And there's a giant ethnic cleansing program going on against Lebanon, and we're bordering on genocide of the Lebanese as they're building the greater aardvark land project don't give a damn about your ceasefire, Trump. Here's a mashup of some videos of the attacks today on Lebanon. So as you could see, they bombed the hell out of highly populated residential areas. And we gave you the death count and injury count. And it's probably even worse than that. There's still people in the rubble. Christian mother prays to Virgin Mary and Jesus as Aardvarkland strikes hit near Beirut Mosque, a moment symbolizing Lebanon's multi-faith culture. They're bombing mosques, churches, synagogues. They don't care. As your IDF. There's a dead IDF. They're stacking bodies on all sides, man. It's quite horrific. This dude dead. 20 years old. Lif Shiz. Dead. For what? For the Greater Aardvarkland Project. That's for what? Aardvarkland bombs. More of these bridge bombings, right? We reported yesterday a bunch of bridges being blown up. They're continuing with the bridge bombing operation. Aardvarkland bombs Qasim Bridge over the Litani River, cutting a key route between the Tyre and the Sidon, and further serving southern Lebanon from Beirut and the rest of the country, severing southern Lebanon from Beirut and the rest of the country. And so here it is on a map. You can see they're bombing they're taking out all these bridges. So they're going to isolate southern Lebanon to the Litani River and take it. They're trying to. They're facing tough opposition from Hezbollah and other militia groups, but yeah, they're going to blow up all this, try to take all this for the Greater Aardvarkland Project. They've already kicked out over 1 million Lebanese from this area, and they're going to genocide everybody left because we have to build the Greater Aardvarkland Project, no matter how many bodies you got to stack up. And that is the agenda here now. I think they've made it abundantly clear. Look at this, and this is a scene from one of the strikes earlier today. Mirror News. Take a look at this. You're just driving along. These look like Hezbollahs to me. You know what I mean? You're just driving along, trying to do whatever, go about your day. And yeah, here comes a Aardvark missile and whacks you. Look at this. I guess all these guys are Hezbollah too, the traffic. There you go. Wow, good job. Got those Hezbollahs. You can see they're bombing highly densely populated areas, saying they're getting the terrorists. They're committing war crimes like every day now. Al Jazeera journalist dead. They whacked this dude. They whacked this dude. Al Jazeera correspondent Mohammed Samir Washa has been killed in Gaza. And so there you go. Gaza's government media office condemned the killing, stating that the number of Palestinian journalists killed by aardvark land has risen to 262 since the start of the genocide. But that's the only democracy in the Middle East, they tell us, and they love democracy and freedom of speech, and that's why they're killing all the journalists they can and blocking any other international journalists from even reporting or seeing inside Gaza and the apocalyptic hellscape they've created there. The only democracy in the Middle East, we're told, our greatest ally. So yeah, they whacked dude. Another journalist dead there now. The total is up to 262 dead journalists. Thankfully, this American got out. I don't know what she'd been doing over there, but here's the hostage video of Shelley Kittleson. She was abducted by Iraqi militia group, held for roughly a week. And Iraqis, Hezbollah, said Friday that they would release Kittleson on the condition that she leave the country immediately. Western media, citing Iraqi sources, reported Kittleson has been released. According to a statement by Hezbollah, the decision to release her stemmed from its appreciation of the patriotic stances of the Iraqi prime minister with the resistance factions, stating this initiative would not be repeated in the future. Yeah. Don't be a goofy American running around there, man. It's highly dangerous. Here's her hostage video.
My name is Shelley Renee Kittleson. I am a freelance journalist and an American citizen. I live in Italy. I speak English, Italian, and Arabic. I have worked in Iraq as a conflict journalist since 2015. I am in contact with Peshmerga and Iraqi armed forces. I have also worked in Afghanistan, Ukraine, and Syria. I received training from American officers in Syria in 2025 for 3 months, and also in Ukraine. The American consul in Baghdad asked me for information in these years about Hashd-al-Shaabi and the resistance factions, Kataib Hezbollah and Nujaba, and especially about the security chief of Kataib Hezbollah, Al-Ahmadawi, and other leaders, but I've forgotten their names. I collected information.
Yeah, I'd forget their names too.
But it wasn't enough, and they asked me for more. In my latest travel, they asked me for more information of a political and intelligence nature of the positions of the Iraqi population about the war. And I made studies on this, and also about the basis of the resistance factions in which there are the leaders. Our lives as Americans were safer before the Trump administration. We walked freely in the streets of Baghdad without needing any security escorts. And our lives are now in danger, and this is entirely because of the Trump administration's stupid policies. Thousands of Americans that worked here have lost their jobs and have left, and their families don't have money in America to live. And this is entirely because of the Trump administration's stupid policies. I am asking the courageous men to defend their country in the Islamic resistance to free me. I promise not to do anything ever to harm their country, ever. And I know that these courageous and honorable men will do this because I am a woman and they respect women.
Well, there you go. There's her hostage video. She's been released, thankfully. So if you're American, watch out. I mean, We're in a war. We're in a war. They're taking hostages. Thankfully, they let her go. Aardvarks would have hung her, right? If the shoe was on the other foot, as they're getting ready to carry out the final solution on Palestinian administrative detainees. Lebanon under strongest. Here's just some more footage, a wide shot here of the bombings of Lebanon earlier today. Terrific. What do we got more? Just we got videos of residential areas bomb blowing up. We'll show you they're killing civilians. There you go. No audio on this clip. There you can see metropolitan area, densely populated. They're bombing the hell out of it. And I think that's all we got for today. Let's see. We had a message from old Smoke Trick. He's just basically saying the genocide will continue. To sum it all up for you there, as per usual. All right, let's continue to pray for peace. As the ceasefire is not holding at all. It's quite horrific. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. We're on Iran war day 40. It needs to stop. It needs to stop, and we're seeing who the culprit is, as we already knew. The mad dog aardvarks, bloodthirsty, genocidal maniacs. And as long as we're best buddies with them, tied at the hip, our fortunes are going to be dark and bad. And so we need to obviously sever the relationship there, because they're not on. We don't have the same objectives, obviously. And so we can't continue to be the fall guy scapegoat for their genocide here. All right, friends, I don't know how I don't know what's up with Odysee. Odysee's going through some glitches right now, but I do see the broadcast went through, because I set up the live broadcast on Odysee and I click the button to see it's loaded and it takes me to an error page. I'm like, what? You know what I mean? And yesterday's show, usually it lets you stream and then you wait for it to render the video, right? And then it lets you upload that stream pretty seamlessly. Now they changed it around and it like doesn't even work anymore. And I tried to do the hard upload of yesterday's show on the Odysee. I don't even think the thing worked. And I clicked the button to see if it works. It takes me to some other page. Like, they broke Odysee. They did a bunch of upgrades. Anyway, I'm glad to see that the show was able to be broadcast on there. But as far as uploading it, I don't know, man. I'll try to upload it. Hopefully we can upload it. But thank you to everybody for tuning in on Odysee, and the stream is live there. Let's go to the chat. Oh no, it's Gillespie. Fat Bob over there today. Let's see, Huffman. No John today. Let's see, Deep Insight. Thank you guys for tuning in and chatting it up over there. Let's see. Fat Bob says, I have a color TV, Sam, made on a cod plantation. It has to use a separate plugin. Indeed. Huffman says, should use a squeaky voice like the BBC used to do. Oh, man. Fat Bob says, one of the war crimes of the ages, and I can only think this neo-hardline Christian sect of aardvarkism is effed. It looks like you're getting your ass kicked by this tiny army. Oh no, Gillespie said. Oh no, it's Gillespie. Let's see here. Don't doubt the power of advertising. They got men buying skin cream and handbags. Huffman said there. Yeah. Don't get me started on advertising. Take a look at Propaganda by Edward Bernays, right? Start there about advertising. Propaganda, Edward Bernays. It's a short book. It's like, what, 120, 30 pages, something like this. Well worth the read there. Deep says, yeah, howdy. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. They say a white flag is just another target for the IDF. Yeah. Looks like it, right? Looks like it. Kay said, I really don't understand Trump. He's the man with the most power in the world, yet he chooses to be the bitch of the corrupt Bibi. Yeah. Well, it's getting pretty self-evident, right? That he's king of the aardvarks, he said. Looks like he's converted to aardvarkism. I've seen reports. I haven't seen any concrete confirmation, but by all signs. And he's got what, 50-60 million dollars from AIPAC, Miriam Adelson, right? From aardvark lobby groups, let's just say. The big one, Miriam Adelson, may very well be compromised by the Epstein files. So I think there's a whole lot to explain Trump's actions. Actually, if you peel back the layers just a little bit and take a look, I think it's self-evident why he's acting this way. Deep says the source of all suffering through usury in banking, debt and economics division through religious radicalism, culture, and degradation of morals, and the family unit is entirely aardvarkian and seated in aardvark land. Indeed there. Didn't I remember? Muslims still say usury is a sin, right? Christians used to say that too, but hey, we all got to worship aardvarks and their bunk banking systems, right? Thanks a lot, Federal Reserve. Kay is in Argentina, says here in Argentina, all the media aardvarks were crying all day because of the ceasefire, saying Iran must not be allowed to have uranium. It's getting bunk, right? It's getting real bunk, that excuse. But aardvark land's allowed to have as much uranium as they want. So, right, all the big dogs on the UN Security Council that don't do jack, they're all allowed to have all the nukes they want, allegedly. If nukes are even real, wouldn't they have used them already? So it's starting to look like nukes are just a giant psyop, or at least thermonuclear destruction, right? As the movies show us. Do they have bombs that blow up real big? Yes. Do they have the capability to carry out thermonuclear destruction of the planet? I don't think so. I think it would have happened already. These people are out of their freaking minds, as evidenced by their actions and trail of bodies behind them. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee, keeping that chat lively. We missed John today. Hopefully he tunes into the replay. I'll try to get the replay up on Odysee if it works with their bugs. Again, thank you guys for tuning in on Odysee, keeping that chat lively. Over to X, Kick, Twitch, Facebook, Bitchute. Thank you guys for tuning in there, and Rumble and YouTube. Let me go to the quite a bit of chats over there. Thank you guys for chatting it up on the Rumbles and the YouTubes. I'll just start here with Mac. He says, Nosferatu pushed Tune aside like a stuffed animal. Jan says FDA is useless and all of them should be arrested. Oz is a freaking wizard. Oz was in the Epstein files. We reported on it. Remember that? He was trying to invite Epstein to was it an Easter party or birthday party? I can't remember, but trying to invite him to a party, be good buddies. Wild and crazy guys together. The boxing is laughing about the aardvarks. We had to use the code because everybody says speaking code, right? So there's a big backstory. We played the Ant and the Aardvark cartoon series via Simon. We kind of worked on it together. I think it was Simon though that had that, because we're like, dude, we need a code word. They're censoring us for bats. We need a code word for aardvarks because we know they're going to censor us for that, and so we don't even want to say the words. You know what I mean? And so that goes back, probably like 2.5 years now almost, is the big backstory behind that. Anyway, thank you for noticing and finding it funny there on the YouTube. The censorship is not funny, but who knows how long we'll be on YouTube. What was that? I saw a post today. They said they took down Bitcoin channel on YouTube for being dangerous. I don't know. Trump's bad, YouTube. You know what I mean? We hate Trump, YouTube. Don't ban us, bro. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? But that's why we're on all these channels, because I guess they'll not ban us on all of them. Maybe. Anyway, we're growing on YouTube, and thank you, YouTube, for letting us get the message through as best we can here now. A-Dub on the YouTube says they're building a new one that makes a 6 in the tunnel design. Talking about CERN. They're building a new one that makes a 666 in the tunnel design. I wouldn't be surprised. Young says Stargate fuel. Is that what it is? Maybe it's Stargate fuel. Let's see, Chloe, all full of shit in my book. Fat Bob, they're starting mad. They're stark raving mad, yeah. Psychos. Let's see. Young says, I have one of those fake candles in my house for when I need to wake up and go pee-pee. Let's see. Chloe, on the Rumble, my Uncle Frank was in his 8s, and I told him we landed on the moon today, and he said, no, we didn't. He knew. Wow. Smart uncle. In his 80s, yeah. In his 80s. Well, smart uncle there, Chloe. Those windows are straight out of Kubrick. They are, right? They are. They are. Talking about the shots from same cameraman. They say. Nobody's buying this. I guess a lot of people are. I don't know. They're putting on a hell of a media. They're blasting it everywhere. The Artemis mission around the moon. Why don't you guys land on the moon? I don't know. Let's see here. type of Pharaoh eyeliner his Vance was wearing. Was he wearing the black eyeliner? Probably was. I didn't pay attention anymore. Bardo says on the Rumble says indexes are moving 500 to 1,000 points with each new Trump tweet. It's a joke. It is. And they're front running everything and it's all rigged beyond them. And they make $1 gazillion off this bullshit. Quickly on the markets, and then I'll read a couple more comments and then I got to go here. But actually, the markets were up. The Dow Jones way up, still under 50, but it was up 2.85% today. Gold, overseas trading, gold was up big. It's at $4,725 an ounce. And silver went up big today. It's down a little bit, fluctuating overseas trading. It broke 75. It's at 74 right now, fluctuating. And Bitcoin hanging in there at a little bit, almost 71,000. So, yeah, the Dow still under 50,000. DOJ, so you can go ahead and arrest the Epstein co-conspirators anytime. Let's see here. Abazaba Enterprises, is that a candy? No, it's not a candy. It's the name of my company. We don't sell candy. Maybe we should start selling candy. Lightstalker, all the chicanery, it's all fake. One big occult. Yeah. Yep. Bardo said, is the Colorado Republicans still alive? They usually get suicided. Remember, who was it? There was some, I think it was like a state rep woman out of Missouri, I want to say. I forget the state, but yeah, she was trying to expose this stuff too, and she got whacked. I remember that. And there's other ones too. Yeah. Yep. Dan Dix does excellent work. Fat Bob said, I agree. So we're going to keep an eye on his Bilderberg group reporting. A sodomite runs Colorado, Jan said. Apparently so. There. Let's see. Lightstalker on the X said, we have before us the ability to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. George W. Bush. Yeah. Yep. Trumpelstiltskin, Max said. Trumpelstiltskin. Beersheba is in the Bible. I'm pretty sure that the people in Beersheba were complaining to the Aardvark government saying, we're getting attacked over here and you guys are not providing any defense or support whatsoever. And the Aardvark government's like, yeah, get in the pile with the rest of the bodies. You know what I mean? They don't care about their own aardvarks. I mean, give me a freaking break. You know what I mean? As evidenced by bombing synagogues, as evidenced by they don't even care about their own people in their own country being attacked due to the result of their freaking bloodthirst. So give me a break with your anti-Septicism, because the center of it is Aardvark land. Where does your anti-Septicism originate? Aardvark land. There's a clue to your big mystery. And where does that originate from? The city of London. TK on the Rumble, it's frustrating. They don't level the Zionists. Bardo, the aardvarks killed another AI Al Jazeera journalist. Yeah, we covered that. It's what, 256 now? Something like that. What does Denver said, actually start with crystallizing public opinion. It's basically the same material, but case studies of the principles in action. Also Bernays. There you go. There you go. So start with Edward Bernays, crystallizing public opinion. There you go. There you go. Thank you, Denver, for that. And Pamela put a link up there to it. So thank you guys. Adding value there in the Rumble chat. Thank you guys. Right there for sure. They done split atoms. Never did. Young said, Bernays free on archive.org. Thank you, Carrie. All men at Epstein party invite except little girls. I meant no disrespect by the candy remark, Javier said. Yeah, I didn't think you did. But yeah, it is that taffy. Where I got that name from is I remembered as a child going with my father to the junkyard, the wrecking yard, right? In Sacramento as a little kid. This is like, what, 45 years ago, something like this, right? Long time ago. But I remember going to the wrecking yard in Sacramento with him to get a car part, right? And the name of the place was Abba Zaba Wrecking Yard, I think was the name of it, right? And so, but I'm familiar with the taffy candy with the peanut butter inside called Abba Zaba. I am familiar with that. But that's not where it came from. It originally came from, like I said, Abba Zaba Wrecking Yard in Sacramento, California. That's where I got the idea for the name. And nobody in California has named it Abba Zaba Enterprises LLC. So there you go. All right, guys. Thank you for one more comment. And I'm going to sign off here from Carrie. Says, best news broadcast, Sam. Well, thank you, Carrie. And Carrie also said on the Rumble, 14 billion Japan for seawall too short for next earthquake in 30 years predicted by scientists. They're still having problems at Fukushima, right? That was wiped out by the earthquake tsunami. They're still having problems over there in Japan with Fukushima radiation. Yeah, still a thing. Massive cover-ups by the government, by the company, and so on. Quite horrific. Okay, tomorrow looks like we'll be on Iran war day 41 as the Strait of Hormuz is closed. There's attacks continuing. Aardvarks say we're going genocidal on Lebanon, essentially. So it's not looking good, man. It's not looking good. Let's pray for peace. Let's pray for peace, that somehow, some way, God can touch Trump's heart and end all this insanity, man. We need it. We need it to end, because innocent people are getting killed all over the place, and it's horrific. And it's not necessary for what? For Bibi's ambitions to build, and the rest of these insane aardvark Zionists to build out the greater aardvark land project. They've now sucked us into the war. Later this week, where are we on Wednesday? Maybe Friday, we'll try to get the most recent death count and injuries. There's thousands upon thousands, right? And so it's horrific. All right, let's pray for peace. As always, everybody do your own research. Peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Wednesday evening.